Hello, and welcome to the presentation of the paper In Searching of Sources of Family Business Succession Failure, written by Magdalena BARY and Oliwia ЩLUSARCZYK. Magdalena BARY is a PhD student at the Management Faculty of the Częstochowa University of Technology. And I am a student at the Geneva School of Economics and Management of the University of Geneva and the Management Faculty of the Częstochowa University of Technology. One of the basic goals of family businesses, determining the essence and uniqueness of these entities, is to last for generations. That is why successful succession is one of the most important tasks facing family businesses. The aim of our article is to examine the succession situation in Polish family businesses and to try to answer the question, what factors may determine the failure of an intergenerational transfer? The research is based on two main secondary sources, which are reports from studies conducted among Polish owners and family businesses and potential successors. Succession is a specific and at the same time one of the most complex problems of family businesses. It touches the areas of enterprise strategy, personal strategy, organizational culture, and ownership structure. This is a broad topic, and therefore it is not surprising that it is one of the most frequently discussed in the context of family businesses. Numerous authors are looking at the issues that involve the influence of generations' knowledge, CEO skills, physiological aspects, family relationships, philosophy of management, the role of planning, and countless other external factors. Despite such a wide range of interest, there are still many gaps that will probably be gradually filled in the coming years. When considering issues related to succession, it is worth trying to define it, because as the scope of the topics related to it is wide, and so are its definitions. Succession can be described as the transference of ownership control and management to the next generation, and the actions, events, and organizational mechanisms by which leadership at the top of the firm and often ownership are transferred. The multi-generational perspective of a family business lasting for years is inseparably connected with the need to carry out the process of succession, the biggest challenge for the business family, the ultimate test of the sustainability of entrepreneurs and his family's many years of effort. Unsuccessful succession is one of the main reasons for the failure of family businesses or the loss of their family character. Statistics show that few companies pass into the hands of the next generations. About 30% of enterprises are successfully transferred to the second generation, about 10 to 15% to the third, and only 3% of family businesses to the fourth. Therefore, it is very important to recognize the factors affecting the quality and effectiveness of succession and the main barriers hindering and sometimes even preventing it. One of the conditions for successful implementation of the intergenerational transfer process is a properly prepared succession plan. It should contain answers to such basic questions as who, when, and how will take over power and ownership in the family business. Secondly, as seniors may be characterized by different levels of readiness to transfer ownership and power and acceptance of the successor's vision of running a business, they often can constitute a significant barrier to effective succession. No less important than the senior's willingness to leave is the willingness of the successor to get involved in managing the company. Financial security, the possibility of self-fulfillment, and trust on the part of the senior undoubtedly have a positive impact on the junior's attitude to taking control of the family business. The success of intergenerational transfer is determined by many factors, and disruption in any area may result in serious problems in the implementation of succession process. Therefore, identifying and investigating sources of disturbances can significantly contribute to improving the effectiveness of the succession process of Polish family businesses. The research is based on several secondary sources. The first is Kody wartości. Diagnoza sytuacji sukcesyjnej w przedsiębiorstwach rodzinnych w Polsce. The synthetic report on research carried out under the Kody wartości. Efektywna sukcesja w polskich firmach rodzinnych project. The purpose of this study was to analyze the state of preparation of Polish family businesses for the succession process, and to identify key success factors for this process, as well as to examine the emotions that appear among owners and potential successors. A total of 416 people took part in the study. As part of the research, comprehensive quantitative research and qualitative one were carried out. In the quantitative survey conducted from January 7th to 28th, 2013, answers from 332 respondents were obtained. There were 250 owners and 82 potential successors. In the qualitative research, conducted by a group of experts from the project, was divided into diagnostic workshops, which took place on February 7th, 2013, with 62 people from family businesses, and in-depth interviews, implemented from January 31st to February 9th, 2013, with 22 people from family businesses. The second source is Barometr Sukcesyjny. Ścieżki kariery pokolenia Next Generation w polskich firmach rodzinnych report, which was based on the largest successor survey in Poland, implemented by the Family Business Institute as a part of the second Polish edition of the International GAS project, Global University Entrepreneurial Student Spirit Student Survey, implemented in 50 countries on all continents. 50 universities from Poland took part in the survey carried out in 2016. 1,471 successors were tested, who could potentially be owners of businesses currently run by their parents. One of the most important issues regarding succession is its perception by both current family business owners and potential successors. According to their research, whose results are displayed on Figure 1, in both groups the majority of people in Poland are aware of the fact that succession is a very important process that should be planned and managed. However, it is worrying that approximately every fourth owner and successor underestimates the complexity of succession and believes that this process should be carried out spontaneously, depending on the circumstances. The literature very often emphasizes the need to plan the succession process. It seems that entrepreneurs also agree with this approach, because less than 15% of owners and successors do not see the need for succession planning. However, the majority of respondents believe that succession planning is a short-term process. According to only slightly more than 25% of owners and successors, it should last longer than a year. According to specialists, succession should be discussed a lot and often in the family. This is necessary to be able to accurately determine and plan its course. Meanwhile, Polish family businesses talk about it rarely or not at all. Especially worrying are the responses of the owners, among which over 20% indicated that succession is not discussed at all. Interestingly, the successors present a more positive picture of the frequency of succession conversations. 12% of them admitted that they do not talk about succession, 9% points less than among owners, while 17% indicated that succession is a very common topic of conversation. Research indicates a large discrepancy in the perception of succession phases between the owners and successors of Polish family businesses. Most owners are still in the succession planning phase, over 70% of responses, possibly seeking successors phase. Only 17% of owners believe that the process of succession is currently implemented in their companies. Successors have a definitely different view on this issue. Although almost 44% of them agree with the owners and believe that succession is only planned, but another 40% of successors believe that this process is already being implemented. Also, twice as many successors than the owners indicated that their family businesses are already in the post-succession phase. For successful succession, extremely important is the method of confirming it and informing the successor about it. Meanwhile, almost half of the respondents, both owners and successors, indicated that the only form of confirmation of succession was an oral proposal to a potential successor. Moreover, 34% of the owners and 26% of the successors admitted that in their enterprises there is no formal way of confirming the succession. Only about 5% of the surveyed family businesses use written forms of confirmation of succession. The process of succession is not possible without the willingness and commitment of successors taking over the family businesses. Meanwhile, less than 10% of potential successors declare their willingness to become a successor in a family business. They do not see themselves in this role either immediately after graduation or 5 years after graduation. There is no doubt that growing up in the entrepreneurial climate has an impact on young people, because almost half of them, after working with others, would like to start their own business. Successors deciding to take over family businesses follow different motivations. Research shows that the most motivating factor to stay in a family business as a successor is a sense of responsibility for the work of ancestors. The desire to introduce changes in the company and the need to test own skills is slightly less important. The research results cited in the previous section indicate that although the owners and successors of family businesses rightly believe that the succession process should be planned and managed, they make many mistakes during its implementation. These errors can significantly contribute to the failure of the succession process. The first mistake is the wrong perception of the time needed to carry out succession. Most owners and successors believe that it should last a year or less, while researchers indicate that for it to be truly effective, it must last at least a few years. Succession is not a one-time act of transferring power and ownership, but a long-term process. Another mistake is too rarely addressing the topic of succession in family discussions, whether between the owner and the successor. It is impossible to successfully carry out the succession process without talking about it and not establishing all the issues related to it together. The lack of proper communication is associated with another mistake, which is the lack of formal confirmation of succession and informing all interested parties about it. Written confirmation of the successor's choice and transfer of authority is definitely clearer and more binding than just an oral proposal. Many mistakes in the process of succession also result from the guiding of emotions and family ties instead of competences. The successor should be the person who has the greatest predispositions for this, and not the one who is the oldest or closest to the heart of the owner. Apart from multiple mistakes that occurred during implementation, there are also numerous other factors contributing to succession failure. The lack of willingness to take over the family business by a potential successor is one of the most important reasons for the succession failure. No one can be forced to continue the family heritage, but no succession can be carried out without a successor. The senior's reluctance to turn over power to the company and step into the shadows is another reason why family businesses don't last for generations. This prevents the successor from building authority and realizing his own vision of running a business. In such situations, potential successors often prefer to start their own business than wait until the senior is finally ready to hand them over to the family business. The fear of responsibility and failure, disappointment of family, and loss of family heritage built by predecessors also contributes to the family not being able to face succession properly. The inevitable comparison of the successor with the senior and judging the successor through the prism of the predecessor's achievements do not encourage participation in the succession process. It seems that in Polish reality, there are other important but overlooked causes of reluctance of potential successors to take over the family business. They have their sources not in family relationships or a family business, but in its social environment. The first cause is the quite negative image of private entrepreneurship associated with selfish, soulless capitalism. This image grew on the basis of the previous political system prevailing in Poland, and despite significant changes, one can still find difficulty in bearing with it. Another reason is the negative image of the children of entrepreneurs in some local communities. Already at the school stage, future successors can sometimes meet with a negative attitude of the environment and mocking opinions. To prove their worth and free themselves from such perception, potential successors may forego resigning from taking over family businesses. This is unfavorable for all parties, so it is important to eliminate this type of phenomenon. Therefore, it is important not only to change the attitude of potential successors and to show them that taking over a family business will allow them to develop professionally, but also to show the society that being a successor is not going on an easy task, but requires appropriate skills and competences. Certainly, there are many more sources of unsuccessful succession. This article is only an attempt to systemize the problem and an invitation to further analysis. Undoubtedly, its limitation is the lack of primary data that can extend the quoted data and confirm the presented thesis. In the course of further research, it is worth focusing on potential successors and their feelings, especially regarding aspects that discourage taking over family businesses. Investigating the social factors of this reluctance seems quite reasonable and can significantly contribute to expanding knowledge about succession. Thank you very much for your time and attention.